Hello and welcome to Dynamically Type. Today we've got another unboxing. Let's see what we've got today. Oh boy, look at that case. Let's open it up and see a Continental, Klein Continental. Since 1904, the Wanderer company had been making Continental branded typewriters. The German word Klein means small, and so many of the German typewriter manufacturers used the word Klein when they made their first portables. That's what happened here in 1930 when the Klein Continental became the portable version of the Continental typewriter. Only a couple years later, they produced R029592, this machine. What's interesting about this one is that it has a QWERTY keyboard instead of Cortez. That makes it the English language layout, but it still has German diacritics. So this is a somewhat unusual typewriter. I'm not exactly sure where it would have been meant to be sold. Now, I got it on eBay. I put in the opening bid of $80, and no one ever bid on it again. The listing had mentioned that it had carriage issues, and I think that scared some people away. At least some amount of the shifting is not working. Do have the original metal spools, that's nice. No, the bell's not dinging either, that's always sad. I'll tell you, the thing that's going through my head right now is I sure hope that no one took the escapement out of this to fix some other machine. But, no denying she's pretty. Let's see if we can see. First of all, we can see a serial number. That's good. We'll be able to look that up. Oh, the escapement has completely fallen out. Oh boy, that's gonna be tricky. That is the escapement wheel right there. It's wedged in there good. How did that happen? I have to very carefully get that out of there. And as soon as possible, because every moment that's sitting in there, that it's begging to be smashed. There we go. I used the back of a file because it's got a nice hard thing I could stick in through here. Let's investigate this now. How does it look? All the teeth are there and they don't look terribly bad for the ordeal they just went through. This is definitely going to involve removing the carriage and working on the escapement though. So boy, this is a big project. They have installed the back plate on this incorrectly. So I have now blown the debris out of the machine. I'm going to flip this back plate over so that it's not upside down. It's not entirely vanity either because the bottom of the case has a clip that I assume has to engage the back of this plate. And I don't want it scratching up the top more than it already has, because it looks like it has. But now as long as we have it open, let's see if we can see what the problem is in here. And my guess is just that the escapement goes in here, and they lost whatever bolt holds it on. The bell does work when it can actually engage correctly. So it's dropping down too far without the escapement knob, and that makes sense. Alright, so there's that off. Alright. So with that off of there, does the whole carriage just slide off? It does. Bearings are in bearing slides, so that's nice. The carriage looks like it's in pretty nice shape. I don't even really think I'm going to need to clean it that much. Now the important part. Okay, so I asked on Facebook, and it seems that probably what has happened here is that the post that it rides on snapped. And you can even sort of get a hint of that in the fact that when the carriage would slide across, it was too deep. It was pressed too far in for the bell to ding correctly. And I think what that means is this carriage will sink too low. And so imagine if something hit the carriage, caused it to sink lower, and the thing that it broke in doing so was this escapement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and take that screw out. So let's try to get access to this. I need to be careful about that. We're going to try to take this nut here. I think that's the right size. It's a M6. Nope, it's just rounding the edges. All right, so that means let's go to plan B. Not doing this with socket wrenches anymore. See if we can do it with end wrenches. I'm playing in the M6 range, right? Yeah, that certainly feels about right. I need more torque now. That is not moving. Left-hand thread. Again, not moving. Well, I could put a drip. It doesn't appear to be rusty at all, so I didn't put any penetrating oil on it, but you never know what's inside, I suppose. Let's give it one little drip. See if there's something in there that needs to be freed up. It was at that point that I decided to just turn the camera off and do what I could do to get this nut off of here. And I took that original socket that I showed you and just pushed it really hard so that it wouldn't round the corners off, and then it came out. Well, I've bent the clip there back into place, and I've used some epoxy to mold it together. So the case is now at least more functional shape. And we've gotten some new parts from kind gentleman Otto in Finland. But I wanted to show you these gorgeous stamps. Look at those. Let's open up this package and see what all we got. Oh boy, he sent lots of stuff. Alright, so got a new set of feet, case feet. And then of course the important bit, this guy, which should be what we need to hold the star wheel on. Oh, you're not gonna believe this. It's too big. It doesn't fit. We went back and forth on that a bunch. Imagine this doesn't fit either. It's too big. Well, either write to Otto and ask him to send me the other star wheel that he had that would fit this screw, and then hope that it's essentially the same star wheel that will fit in the machine. I guess not hope, take lots and lots of measurements is really the answer. 2, I could try to bore the center of this out. That sounds dangerous. Doesn't even really work because this doesn't fit into that hole either, so that's not really an option. 3, assume the length on this is right. Use it to measure the length on the other one. And then use these threads to figure out what is supposed to go in there. Man, I don't know. Alright, let's work on the case. We can do the case. Let's put 2 of these feet in so it'll have something to ride on. Although I would kind of like to clean these up. Pop these guys out of here. As long as we're doing it, take this one out too. And we'll leave the 4th one because it looks fine. In fact, it might even have a little bit of factory paint still on it. Alright, so we've got our little push pin things. Little jug of evaporust. Boop. And we'll toss these guys in. Alright, let's move that out of the way. Alright, I'm not sure how much further I'm going to take this because I do kind of want to play with that star wheel. M3.5 60. It's definitely 0.7. So this is an M4 0.7 pitch. I just reconfirmed that this one was an M3.5 0.6 pitch. So I'm not sure what my plan is going to be, but we'll have to just figure it out. So what do I have? I have these case feet printed from Finland. So let's put And our case feet here. One. That one's already assembled. Two. Got these little inserts here that will actually poke into the case itself. So now we got 3, 4. But what we only had was 3 of these screws and 3 of these little holders and 2 washers. I forgot about the washers part. What I do have is another screw. Heck, maybe I'll use 4 new screws. Why not? They are the same in pretty much every way, except they are Phillips. And then that left me with this conundrum of what to do with these little sleeves. And what I got was these little press fit inserts. And this is how you would thread something that was going to be plastic. You drill a hole in the plastic, you thread it in, and this insert would go into the plastic. The knurls would hold into the plastic, and then this would become your insert. But look at the size that it's just slightly too short, and it's just basically the right size. It even has that slot, though I don't know if I'm going to need it because of those knurls. And so that's what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use it in the front because I think it'll look better. It'll sort of look more consistent in the back. But I think that will do for now. And so let's get to taking this apart. Unscrew these guys here. And these ones were always just wrong. These were just inserted into the machine, inserted into the board here to give it something. They're not right. And all of this is going to be moot anyway if I can't fix that escapement. So let's see how one of these will go. There are little indents from back when it had its original feet. And we'll stick one of these guys up and through there. And screw that on. Now that's where it should probably have a washer. Let's see, what do I have? These are the originals. They're a little bit gross. Oh boy, is that almost exactly right? Do I have another one of those? I do. No, I think I'll just do this. Put these, those can be on the back maybe. All right, so let's take this back out. All right, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll put on the other original one. Pick one of the back ones at random here. Okay, that looks to be pretty good. And so the idea then is it drops onto these 4 pegs. The feet on the typewriter have little holes, but it's actually these 2 clips here, this clip and the clip in the back, that actually hold the typewriter. So the feet just center it. So if we put it back here along the back, drop those feet on and snap, we now have, for the first time since I've owned this machine, a well-secured Klein Continental. I'm pretty excited about that. Now, I have gotten some rod stock. So it is 4mm rod with a 2mm bored hole. My plan is to make the escapement holder, that is to say, make this piece here, which this one is too big, by taking this piece of rod. Did I measure this wrong? This one doesn't fit. So I wondered if I measured this wrong. But the plan here is to make basically this piece. I'm going to make it by getting a tap. I can tap this with the same hole that, with the same thread that is on the back of that machine that holds it there. Now, that said, if I didn't measure this right, then this is the wrong rod stock. What if I just take one of these screws out? Does it just ride? Maybe it just rides on the screw. It's a little wobbly. It doesn't feel great, but there is not much in there. And if I tried to shim that out with that rod stock, there's not going to be, look at this. There wouldn't be anything left of that rod stock if it could actually fit in there. So my thought now is that this just rides on the screw. And if we shim it out just right, and maybe get shimmed out with a couple of washers, which I could believe. Goodness, wouldn't that be cool if that just worked? Let's just see, huh? And so here's the plan. The escapement feeds in here somehow. That's too far forward. It's got to be the other way around. Yeah, I think this has to be like this. It's spaced out with a few spacers, a couple of washers, and we will put those into the right place so that they land just right. These are going to be far too long, so I have to figure out how long. So it has to be so that it lands right there. What we need is washers. How much do we need? It's a little hard to do this by eye. About 5 millimeters. We've got these little washers here. But that's pretty close. It's pretty close, so that's out. And here's the plan. I'm going to put all these washers on there. All of these washers, including, I'm going to put the best, smoothest face facing towards the escapement, like that. And I do have to get this plate out of the way now. That out of the way, I can put this thing here, which gives me all the clearance I need. I need to get my fingers on that to do the screw. And clearly this screw is too long. I need to work with it for now so I can see how much to cut it. How am I going to get that thing to turn? I can't even get my fingers on it. So if I were to make the screw just a bit shorter, take off 4 or 5 threads. So let's try it. Let's pull out the big guns. Have the Dremel here. Got my safety glasses. By glasses, I mean full face shield. 1 shortened threads. I thought this was the hard one. Am I wrong? Well, here, let's see this go on to this nut. Or do we have to shape it a little bit? Actually, it goes on just fine. So maybe I'm not going to worry about... Oh. Okay, it bounced right out. Now we're going to try something even crazier. I'm not sure I can do this freehand. Alright, I don't know if that's going to work at all. We'll find out. If I'm careful, it does still thread on. And we'll reassemble the whole thing through all these washers. So now, first of all, it's shorter. That should give us a little better access to the hole. But now, because I put that end cut in, I can sort of pin this end back this way. I'm getting too excited here and I'm rushing. I just dumped all those washers into the machine. So the name of the exercise here is getting those threads started. I can feel that thread, that slot that I cut. Oh, there we go. See, now that I've got it turning, we'll turn all the way in. So I definitely see the necessity of that jam nut, which also I think means that I cut this too short by a couple of threads. I need a couple of threads for that jam nut to hold on to. So I will probably end up doing this again, but I really want to prove to myself that it worked. You know, is this the right number of washers? How about this? Does the backspacer work? No. Why not? I am too far forward. I need less shim. That's good. That actually buys me some more thread. Maybe I don't have to cut this. I'm going to get rid of the thinnest of my shims. And we try it again. There we go. It's going in. Let's test with the backspacer. Why is that loading up? It's because the screw is getting tighter. But if I could put a washer in front, I would still leave enough threads at the end for this jam nut, which keeps it from tightening. We're getting close. We're getting real close. I went out and I bought myself a new thin cut wheel. And of course that needed a new collet, so got the new collet as well. And we are going to have a little bit of fun trying to cut the end of the shaft to get that slot in there, but hopefully this time something a little bit more even. Let's give this a go. Gotta get my eye protection again. I think that did a pretty good job. Right down the middle. Right, so, one washer on the front. Star wheel. 3 appropriately sized shims. Oh, I need that thin screwdriver. Got to get this guy out of the way. We are rapidly approaching this might have been better just to take the whole machine apart phase of this project. Draw that thing all the way through. Yeah, I mean, definitely too long. So we will be cutting one more screw. But before we get there, I have to know. I screw this jam nut on here, tighten it down. Does the star wheel turn? And how wobbly is it? It's engaging. Oh boy. Oh man, am I gonna save this? This has got to be my craziest save ever, right? So I have to make a new version of this that is somewhere between this number of threads, i.e. all of the threads, and the other one where I randomly cut some of it off. Well, I can't say we've done it until we've actually done it. So let's take it back off. We'll cut one more screw. My first attempt where I cut it, my second attempt where I didn't, and it needs to be like halfway in between those. I'm going to mark this with black marker. Looks about right to me. Eye protection on. Still threads. Let's confirm the length. Somewhere in between the three. Looks like it to me. Not quite as centered as the last one, but it'll do just fine. Trying to get it to thread. Not threading in yet. That first thread, I feel it skipping a little bit. It feels like it's trying. Looks like it's going. Yep, got it. Putting this jam nut on here. And that way the jam nut can tension the screw being on here. Oh my gosh, guys. Look at that. Look at that. All right. Let me get on reassembling here. Drop this one in, line that little connector up. All right. Take the little stopper out. Not feeding on this already. Which tells me something's still not quite right. Oh, ha, you know what it is? It's the star wheel working. Feels tight. I need the carriage release. Definitely this is the carriage release. But we've made a really disturbing discovery, which is it tips towards the back to come off of the star wheel, which means in this case it's pushing it into that main star, which I believe means I have the star wheel on backwards. And if the star wheel's on backwards, then my alignment's completely wrong. But I truly don't see how I can make this star wheel engage correctly facing the other way. I dare say that's working just about exactly right. All right, I'll talk to my guy in Finland. For the moment, we're going to put it back on the shelf, I guess. Defeat from the jaws of victory.